Hello everyone, Lockdown 3.0. All of us are into the third lockdown, which is extended till May 17th. We have been divided into three zones: red, orange, and green. One thing common to all the zones has been the opening of the liquor shops. And we saw what happened with the opening of the liquor shops. The social distancing went for a toss. We saw hordes and hordes of people outside liquor shops. I completely understand when the government decides to open the liquor shops because of the excise and the revenue that can be collected from the liquor, which the government very much needs at this time. But we saw what happened. Everything went for a toss with hordes and hordes of people from various walks of lives standing outside liquor shops, long queues. Social distancing gone for a toss. And what about when those liquor bottles were taken home? Have we thought about what can happen when a family is locked up with somebody who is only bent upon drinking? Increase in domestic violence, not only violence against other adults, but even against children. Actually, you can say unsavory atmosphere in the house for the kids to grow up in. And when we are increasing violence at home, we are also burdening not only the police, who is already overburdened, but also the hospitals, where there could be many emergency cases just because of violent, abusive behavior at home. Now, this is when a person is drinking and what he does to the others. But what about himself or herself? What happens to the person who's drinking? Maybe the person is going through depression and becomes more depressed, becomes suicidal, becomes violent to himself or herself, forget even to the others. And maybe many of the people who were never drunks get into the habit, addicted to alcohol, and what will happen when all this is over? Would they be capable of going back to work or leading a normal life? Or would they be emotionally and mentally broken? And what about all the money that goes into buying the alcohol at a much, much higher price? Aren't we all talking about loss of revenue, loss of salaries, loss of jobs? And people don't have money to buy food and their requirements, essential requirements. And what happens if a lot of that money is spent on alcohol? Or will it be all taken on credit? And how are all those credits going to be paid back? Are we not going to overburden individuals with so many losses without having an idea how they will be paid back? And then what happens later on? Would there be more suicides like the farmer suicides? Would there be more violence, antisocial behavior? Would we go into crime and many other things just to get out of the money racket that everybody will get into due to this? And look at so many aspects that happen to the human mind that because of opening of the alcohol shops. To make my point clear, I would just like to say this much that I'm no moral police. I'm not wanting to police people whether they should drink or they should not drink. But the whole question at this point of time is this, that how many people are really mature drinkers? How many of them will go into the deep abyss of loneliness, drinking, and become drunks? Or will have to end up in rehab places or hospitals? And how many of them would be broke without money and the families all disintegrated just because of adding to the miseries and woes that they are going through? Are we really heading for a further breakdown of the social system? Are we heading for further disasters? It's really a concern that have we taken a right step? I completely understand and agree that the government requires revenue very much at this time. But can we find some other ways also of increasing the revenue as well as keeping the people in a safer situation? We do not lead them into worse situations, and we really think about what we can do. Uh, it's it's very easy to say, just let's open this or open that. But do we look at the consequences of what's going to happen after we have done that? Or after a disaster happens? When are we going to look at the consequences of whatever we do? We saw the images of all the chaos outside. Every city had these long, long, long queues outside liquor shops. The police had to lathi charge in many places. They had to request them to go back. We spoke about social distancing gone for a toss. But look at the chaos that it created outside. And all that chaos was carried home through bottles and bottles of liquor. What happened to the family life where all that liquor was going to be consumed, or to the person who was sitting alone, far away from his family, couldn't go back home, sitting and drinking? Have we created alcoholics? Are we going to bring more chaos after the lockdowns are over, after we have conquered coronavirus? I'm sure we will. We are looking at medicines and vaccines, and I'm sure it will be conquered sooner or later. But what will happen after that? Will we have more and more de addiction centers, hospitals, mentally unstable people, or going through depressions or suicidal, broken families, no food, no money for food and other essential goods? There's so much that needs to be looked into. Can we sit down and think? Can we really think what is good for us? Each one of us needs to think about what is good for me and what is not. Let's not just get drawn to all that seems attractive. There is more to life than that. And let us fight this battle all together until we meet again. Thank you so much.